everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're gonna be reviewing the game, or rather, let's say the thumping of Celta. We just completed right now, and as usual, we're here with Sunaid and Doris, and we have new people for you guys to, I think who joined the panel recently. We have Javier and Karim. So I'll just let them say hello to the people first before we move on. So Karim, could you just please quickly give a brief introduction to us?
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to join everyone. And it was a great game today. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about it. A la Madrid.
Thank you, Karim. That was brief. Nice. Javier?
Hola a todos. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Javier. So yeah, Javier is our Spanish guy. So yeah, we're going to get a lot of original OC content from him. So yeah, so let's just, without further ado, let's dive into the game. So, but before we start, I just want to state that the description, or rather the information to have in the column is going to be the description to the video. So you can just hop in anytime you want, and everyone's going to get equal time distribution. And also you can engage us from the chat, as we've been doing for the past couple of videos.
Make sure to remind the people, right? Like it's a live call-in show, like in between the thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the point. Like the details are in the description, so you can just join from there anytime. Yeah, and also just keep engaging us through the chat as well. We reply and we just based on what you say, we flow with that as well. So yeah, let's just go back to the game. I think it was a very, very good game, considering the situation. Like, we're all in mourning the departure of captain Casemiro, even though he doesn't have the armband. He was a captain without an armband. Yeah, so it was a really, really good game. So I just want to start from there, exactly. So I would just like to start, for example, let's start with Karim, because he wasn't present yesterday. So how would you say, the absence of Casemiro, or rather, how would you quantify the absence of Casemiro in this game?
I think it's going to be difficult to capture in just 90 minutes. I think his influence was up and down the team for 7 or 8 years, really. So, but within this game, I think there were certain points, particularly in the first half, where you saw a bit of a gap emerging between Real Madrid's defense and midfield. And we saw Camavinga, I think, making attempts to cover a little bit for Tchouaméni. So I think it's just going to be a question of giving them more time to play together, and everyone figures out where they belong on the pitch. So it's a natural sequence of events when you have 3 in midfield who haven't played that much time together, particularly Tchouaméni, of course. But yeah, Casemiro is going to be missed. He was the stalwart and the linchpin for a very long time.
I see. What about you, Doris? What's your take on that? Like, how do you think? I would say Tchouaméni, how would I put it? Like, I wouldn't say filled in the gap, or rather, but how do you think, okay, let me rephrase the sentence then. How do you think, like, both Camavinga and Tchouaméni were able to, perform today in the absence of Casemiro?
Well, the fact that we need 2 players to replace him is something, but even that, Tchouaméni and Camavinga both were solid today. I mean, Tchouaméni had a couple misplaced passes, but that is something that he will work on, I'm sure. But everything else, like defending wise, two goals came from Tchouaméni, making a block or intercepting, and that is a good sign of his progress from last game, his debut game.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, to make that. I think that's actually very good for his confidence, to boost his confidence with the 2 two interceptions he made, which eventually led to
Yeah.
goal. So yeah, I'll just get the final take on this from Javier as well. Javier, what do you think on Tchouaméni? Like, how would you say his performance was today, especially on the back of Casemiro leaving Real Madrid?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting game for him.
Yeah.
In the first half, he struggled like almost all the midfielders. Only Modric in the first half of the same level. It's Modric. He's always in a top level. But in the second half, you feel more secure with the ball, with a few interceptions, like Tony said, like very aggressive in the ball, very fast, and we start to see his true power. Fast, strong, and I think the fact that Eduardo and Tchouaméni are French, I think it's gonna be a little of a synergy. I'm really looking forward to see that how these players play each other. With Modric, always we have to have Modric, at least in the beginning, when these two are relatively new for the team. And Fede, Fede it's also a key component. I think even if Casemiro doesn't leave the team, I will see Eduardo and Tchouaméni replacing.
Javier, your voice is very muffled. Javier, your voice is very muffled. It's like you're covering the mic with something.
No,
because it's very muffled. It keeps coming in and out.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I have my.
Can you take out the earbuds and try?
Do you hear me better now? I think it's the echo in my room.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Maybe.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man. Actually, I think I could get what you're trying to say there, Javier. I think the point you're trying to make, which I think summarizes everything, is just about patience. Because as you rightly pointed out, like as the game progressed on, Tchouaméni built into the game. Like he actually, he came to the fore. Like as you said, like the passion was there, the aggression was there. He grew more into the game. Actually, that's very right. And one thing I also like to applaud the comment you made about is the synergy between himself and Camavinga as well. Being friends off the pitch itself helps that bedding process into the game, the club as a whole. So yeah, I think that's something we have just to look out for, and time will eventually tell. So now, Sunay, can you just take us through the game, since we're just reviewing the Celta Vigo game? We had a couple of penalties, we had penalty shouts we were giving, we're not giving, we had goals scored on the back of not giving penalties and what is not. Yeah. So would you just take us through the game, please?
The first half was mad, because it was a case of two penalties that came out of nothing, essentially, because nobody expected those instances to happen like back to back, especially to weird handballs. And Tapia, I could say, was a bit cynical, because he knew what he was doing, right? Like the ball was clearly going in the net. Like he obviously, I think that move was very premeditated, and that's why it's a much more clearer handball. But when the ref gave that one, the Militao one was out of the question, because there's no debating that. Like even though Militao, you could argue, was much more unintentional, and he was like in midair, kind of his hand was like flailing, so like you can actually argue like a case maybe he didn't mean it. But yeah, after that, like until then we were in and out of the game. Like
Sunit, can I interrupt you quickly, please? Because I actually have this thing in my head, so I'm just gonna direct this question to Doris, because like I think she's more of, at least she's the closest to a professional footballer we have among us. So the thing is that I just imagine the case of Militao jumping, right? So he jumps and his hand goes like this, right? So I'm just trying to imagine myself, like, we play football on the street, and when you jump, you can control the motion of your hands. Like I feel like you just jump and your hands go. So it's not like I intentionally raise my hand to go with that movement. So I would just like to ask you, Doris, like, what do you think? Like, do you think it's possible to attack these situations by putting your hand behind your back and jumping to try to defend the ball?
I think you have to, and he knew that. He knew better than to that. And I agree with the referee. If it was the other way, I would say the same, of course. And in case if you can control that, it depends on the player and the situation. But as I said, I think Militao knew to do better than that.
I see. So actually, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not PK. For sure, it's a pen based on the laws of the game. What I'm actually questioning now is the laws of the game itself. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, why, like, it's like, because I feel like it's something unintentional. It's something that I cannot control. Like, it's how can I say? It's an involuntary movement of my body. So I feel like I shouldn't get penalized for that. But then you might also be right in the sense that, like, yeah, Militao should do better than that. Like, he's a professional footballer after all. Okay, so Nate, please just keep going. Sorry for the interruption.
You're good, mate. But yeah, like it was kind of end to end, especially the opening 20-25 minutes, and I felt like we couldn't essentially like stamp an authority, like especially in the midfield. People were getting in each other's way, like just like what Javier mentioned in the chat. Valverde at one point, I remember like him taking the ball from the right side and trying to dribble inward, right to the center of the pitch, and then losing the ball, and then that resulting in a short action. That just summed it up, because these guys haven't played together much, and it was like clear as day for everybody to see that these guys are still going through the motions of like understanding where each other would be in a situation. So, but as the game grew on, we grew into the game, especially the midfield. Like, I felt like Camavinga was the brightest. What did you guys think about Camavinga? He looked solid.
Actually, for me, it was either between Camavinga and Modric as man of the match. I thought he was so smooth. He was everywhere. He was recovering the ball. He was playing it forward, one touch, two touch, link up play. Camavinga almost to me looks like someone who last season played well, was an important part of the team, especially in the latter half of the season. And you can imagine Casemiro leaving almost makes him now puff his shoulders up a little more. Okay, now maybe I can be the one to drive this forward. You saw a little bit of that during the match. He was talking to Tchouaméni the entire time. But I thought Camavinga was really strong today. Very solid display in midfield.
That puff out of the chest, I totally agree, because there's almost you can see it as in his stature. Like it's different.
Yeah.
He just looks different today. So.
Yeah, and he's such a technically adept midfielder as well, Camavinga. He's physical, strong on the ball. His first touch is impeccable. So I think he's, hopefully, fingers crossed, he's going to be one of those signings that just gets better year after year.
The one instance that stood out to me, I remember, like it was, I think around the 35th minute, 33rd minute, I'm not sure. But there was this instance where he completely anticipated the play and dropped the ball back 3 times in a row, back to back to back. Like he was everywhere. So yeah, man, big up Camavinga. Big things coming from him, I'm sure. This I think opens up a stepping stone that he thought would come a little bit later into the season, but Casemiro leaving has certainly accelerated a lot of things. Yeah, Camavinga was bright. I thought Carvajal was again stressed. Mendy was fine. Mendy was doing fine. Mendy was holding things down. But Carvajal was getting stressed through Javi Galán on Celta's left. And of course, Oscar Rodriguez, if you guys remember, is a Castilla product. And this guy was highly rated once upon a time. And he played like, he had a chip on his shoulder. He had something to prove. So he was, both of them, that duo was causing Carvajal a lot of problems. But we have seen this pattern with Carvajal throughout the years, that he might start some games slow, but he most more often than not, he finishes them strong. So also him, along with the team, grew into the game as the clock ticked on. What did you guys think about the centre back pairing? Like Militao and Alaba, did it look much more solid than what we were faced up with last week, with Rudiger and Nacho? I'll ask you, Farouk. What did you think Carlo reverting back to the back line that got him the Champions League?
I mean, I think I wouldn't say like it was like outstanding, to be honest. I feel like we still have the same issues we had last year, which was like the aerial ball. I can't recall the name of the number 9 striker. So you could see like he was like constantly bullying, either if it was Alaba or Militao, like, and that's where the penalty also came from.
Pacencia is known as a one-trick pony. He's a journeyman. Yeah. He has been to so many clubs. I think he is from the Porto Academy. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's from the Porto Academy. But he has been to so many countries, played in so many leagues all throughout the year. And one strong point of him is poaching in the air. And remember, Farouk, like end of the last year, like around like November, December, we used to certainly get super worried about how exposed our main backline was with aerial balls. And you saw Pacencia like bullying Militao on more than a couple of occasions. And I fear, and this is not a fear, okay? This is somewhat of a reservation I have, that this backline, I'm going to ask you, Farouk, this is an interesting question. I'm going to ask the panel entirely. So does this backline of Militao and Alaba walk in an era where there are much more physical, established, classic number 9s? I don't think they would survive it. That's my opinion.
I mean, to be honest, I think it will be difficult for them because, as we just had, this old team of, just running and crossing into the box and, someone just nicks something out of somewhere. So I think in that era, definitely for sure, they might face a lot of difficulties. But I think the point now is that, like these days, you hardly find strikers who are like that way anymore. We hardly find teams who are like, who play with that style.
They have a focal point.
Exactly.
The focal point they had, he came on and missed 2 headers just wide. Remember?
Exactly. You see, right? So that's the whole thing, right? So I mean, because you can take a lot of teams nowadays, like they don't play with. But I think I can resonate with what you're saying in the fact that if we were to go back, in the era of the classic number 9s, I mean, it would have been a lot more difficult for these guys to actually cope. But then, I mean, also, one thing we have to consider is that while they like that, we should also take away, what they also offer. Like, I mean, the recovery of Militao, I mean, it's just outstanding. His pace, what is and what is not, and also, Alaba's how should I say, Alaba's technical ability, the intelligence on and off the ball. It's really outrageous, to be honest. So like, while they might lack some things, in the aerial prowess, like they make up for that.
Talking out of the back,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, because when you take a lot of defenders, of the past as well, like, they were also like not that technically gifted and they were just warriors, who weren't, let's not say, like they were in that, they lacked the football intelligence, I would say, which, nowadays defenders actually possess a lot.
It's not football intelligence. That's very harsh. I would say the game didn't revolve around passing out the back so much back then. So their passing ability would be, a bit less. Footballing IQ shouldn't be in question for them. That's hard. That's just my opinion, though. But yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a valid point.
Yeah. Does anyone else on the panel have any reservations about Militao or Alaba?
Well, yeah. Hope is the audio better.
Yeah, it is better.
So my opinion is in this kind of games, we can play with, I would say, a chaotic center back and a more center-minded center back,
Level-headed.
Militao and Rudiger against, I don't know, Barcelona, Atletico, Champions League, they cannot play each other for me at this point. Because there are 2 chaotic center backs. We need to play with Nacho or Alaba or even Vallejo with one of them. You know,
Mm.
I would
So
love
much more
to.
calm.
Yeah. I would love to see a back line with Alaba, Militao, and Rudiger. You know, just for one half, just to experience what would it be with the three back line. I know it's not a Real Madrid
Real Madrid way.
nine, but if you have three center back that can be top of the world, why would just give it a try? You know, with maybe Valverde instead of Carvajal, and I don't know, Dini or someone else on the left side. You know, just to experiment with the center back. I think the last time we had two chaotic center backs was with Pepe and Ramos, and it was a flip coin. You know, maybe they perform like the absolute best, and no one passed, or maybe one of them was a red card, and the other one gets lost. You know, it's I don't like this feeling of uncertainty that brings two very local defenders. You know.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. But I would be very surprised if Carlo, you know Carlo, right? Like he is very stubborn in the way he wants his team to play. And I can't even remember. Maybe he might have tried it at Everton, because at Everton anything goes. So I don't think with us he would revert to a three at the back unless injuries or suspensions, forces his hand. But yeah, that's pretty much about the defense. The less we talk about Mendy, it's the better, because he rarely gets mentioned because he does his basics right. Mendy is more often than not a 7, at least, like most games. I think he is one of the more consistent players we had. You can look up the stats. It gets mentioned every now and then. Whenever he starts, we usually tend to be on the winning side. And yeah, man, big up to Mendy. He has been going strong all throughout these years. Moving on to midfield.
Before you move on, can I pose a question to the panel though?
Right.
Okay, guys. So like we can see 3 world-class center backs, right? Rudiger, Alaba, and Militao. Like all due respect to Nacho as also. Who would be your ideal starting choice? Like because I think actually, Javier made a very, very good point, in the sense that like the point is you don't want to start with, in my opinion, I also agree with him. I wouldn't start with Militao and Rudiger together, to be honest. No, never, ever. Okay. So I was just thinking, I don't know what is you guys' take on that. Like we're playing a 4-4-2, Carvalho and Mendy are fixed. Who's gonna be your starting center backs? Like what's your ideal choice?
One of the reasons that it doesn't concern me as much, the conversation about facing a particular number 9 that would bully the center backs, is I think we've got really a few good options. And I wouldn't have a universal sort of, well, these are the center backs, this should be the starting center back. I think it really does depend on the game. If you have an opponent, let's say like Erling Haaland, right? Or someone who's tall and ferocious and physical, just nasty, someone you'd hate to play against. I wouldn't mind seeing someone like Rudiger and Militao standing up together. I think you need that height, you need that heading power. So I really do think it depends on the opponent. And that's why I'm happy that Rudiger's come to Madrid and hope that he's going to play a lot of games as well. If I had to choose a center-back pairing, I think Alaba just has on-the-ball ability, which is beautiful. He can play the ball upwards. He's a ball-playing defender. So I think he comes inside. And just because he's sort of like a shiny new toy, which I haven't seen too much of other than he was at Chelsea, I would like to see Rudiger play with him for a little bit and see how that pans out. But I rate Militao a lot. I think he's a very good defender. He played the Champions League final. It was fantastic. Nacho hopefully will be a one-club legend by the time he retires. And Vallejo has just been around so long that I can't hate him. So, but yeah, Rudiger and Alaba for me.
Good shot.
Yeah, Doris, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with Karim. Alaba and Rudiger is my choice. Also, mostly because of what you said, that you cannot have two chaotic center backs or center halves. Because I mean, you could put Rudiger in that category too, but I I would say that Rudiger did a good job on the right side today, and he was a threat in the offense, which is also a tactical choice that we could use in some games, because it could be Militao and Alaba for some games, and use Rudiger more as a tactical substitution.
Mm. I could relate to that, to be honest. And yeah, like Rudiger, like what you guys pointed out, Rudiger's introduction into our squad basically kind of gives us solutions for multiple problems, and enables us to navigate, say, Haaland situation when you're faced up with him. Um, but yeah, like as the first half wore on, we started to assert some sort of control on the game, and you could see with the Modric goal, how clinically he put it away, where he shimmied past two defenders, like one was Tapia, I believe, the CDM, effortless, like he effortlessly bent it past the keeper. How many times have we seen the same thing happen? Like it's always a recurring theme, how Modric usually scores. Like, were there any surprises when you saw him score from such a distance?
I wouldn't
No,
say.
I mean, it's Luka Modric, right? So like, I mean, it's just, it's just outrageous, man, what the man does at this age, to be honest. Like, there's nothing left to quantify him, to be honest. Like, I mean, I just feel like, we actually I feel like we're not appreciating what Luka Modric actually is. Although, like, I'm not saying like he's underappreciated, like, or anything. I'm just like, we're not actually like, I don't know what that kind of thing, like you said, like, you don't know the value of something until, you don't have it anymore. I mean, once Luka Modric retires, we're gonna sit and then like just digest like how really, really good a player he is. Or like, the man is 37, the man is 37. I mean, case point, like Iniesta, Xavi, where were they at 37?
These guys,
I mean, really, really, like, the best of midfielders, even the best British midfielders, where were they at 36, 37? Like, wow.
apart from
The man is just something else.
But yeah, man, British people, you know the PL agenda, right? It's you can't fight it. Like, the more you fight it, the more absurd it gets. Like, I've heard these guys, like people like Cruz and Modric, their names being thrown in between names like Thiago. Like, what? Like there shouldn't be any debates, among them, in my opinion. But sorry to interrupt you, Farooq. The point I was gonna mention was, like, right before Modric scored in that banger, the co-commentator on my stream, right? I think it was Stuart Robson. He was mentioning Fran Beltran, Celta Vigo scam had 3 times the successful passes and touches than Modric. I believe these guys have some inbuilt mechanism, a chip, to send all these, shit being talked about them, as some sort of, I don't know, binary code. I have no idea, but he seems to know that someone is chatting shit, and he does this. It's so poignant. Modric keeps proving everybody wrong. Like, it's been like, I believe it's been 3 years since I felt like, okay, this guy is done. His time is up. And it's another year, and here we are again. Singing praises. I want to ask this to you, Javier. Modric, do you see Modric continuing past the next year as well?
Well, I mean, just to capitalize Modric is insanely thing, you know. I think it's I understand what you say about the commentators because controversy sells, you know.
Yeah.
But Modric is a Ballon d'Or, you know. A Ballon d'Or cannot never under any circumstance be, you know, like it doesn't surprise me. Maybe they surprise the the other people, but watching play, it's been one of my greatest. You know, he's one of my favorite players of all time. I think he's only proven that if you have the mind, the body doesn't count anymore. You know, he's not as fast, and he doesn't need to be. He doesn't. He's never been a strong player. He's never been the fastest. He's been the smartest, and he's been the smartest for a very long time. And if we put the muscle and the speed to Eduardo, to Fede, to Chomini, the more and more we're gonna see a real and a true number 10 on Modric. You know, just uh, he sees in the field something that no one else, even Karim, doesn't see. You know, only Luca can make the pass and the assist that he today's goal. The goal is fantastic, you know, but the assist to Bini,
the third goal.
It's outstanding, you know. He's very smart, and if the injuries doesn't go, I think we can have a number 10 for and maybe until he's 40 and then he decides to retire, you know. His body is not gonna retire him. He's gonna decide to go to his family and enjoy something else, you know. I don't see him retiring by underperforming. Never.
That's well said. That's well said. He wouldn't retire because you know, he can't dictate the game anymore. You know, that's a fair point. But Modric, when you actually watch the game and kind of resonate with the players, when the score was 1-1 with 2 penalties, you could see Modric was clearly out of the game. He wasn't having as much touches as he would want. You know, as much interceptions as he would like. So he was kind of on the ferry. But it, like, as the game went on, he grew into it. Like, there was a moment. I think when the score was 1-1 itself, Alaba plays this blind ball to Benzema at full pace, and Benzema gives like a first time flick over to Modric, and then he tries to like sneak it past the defender. I think it was I forgot his name, to Vinny, but it was blocked off right then and there. But in the second half, like what Javier alluded to, that ball to Vinny kind of eased up the scoreline and enabled us to kind of kill them off, because Balaidos historically have been difficult. Like, they haven't won against us in the past 8 years. Like that's a damning stat. But Celta Vigo at their home is no easy team to play against. So for me, that third goal proved so vital. Vinny gets so much attention from the media, but Farouk, do you think we praise him enough?
Actually, the thing now becomes this, right? Like, because of the presence of Karim Benzema, right? Because of the presence of Luka Modric, like, and these are seasoned people who have done it again and again and again. And, I think that's the reason why I would say, no, we don't praise him enough. Because I feel like, if Vinicius was, let's say, for example, on a Barcelona team, for example, because imagine, like, you can see how much Ansu Fati, how much, like, the coolers, like, rate Ansu Fati, you understand? Because the point is that they have no one other than Ansu Fati to put on the podium. So that's the thing. Like, but for us, like, it's like we're pushing for Karim to win the Ballon d'Or. The other day, we even had the discussion: should Courtois be the European Player of the Year ahead of Karim Benzema? We're discussing why is Modric not on the third place instead of Kevin De Bruyne. You get? So we actually aren't even discussing about how to put Vini on the podium of the UEFA Player of the Year as well. Yeah. So I think that's the thing why I would say no. Like, to be honest, like, I feel like he's not getting enough praise from our side, and that's not due to the lack of effort. It's just because like we have a lot of people to push, before we get to Vinicius. But actually, what I would like to answer one of the questions we posed to Javier already about the fact that what happens to Luka Modric, at the end of the season, and what is not. I do think there's a World Cup in November, right?
Yeah.
I do think Luka Modric might actually call it a day after the World Cup, because he wants to go on a high or what is not. I think that might just be it. And his contract expires and Toni Kroos's contract also expires at the same time. So I think they might just, do a double sunset escape or whatever they call it.
It will be too much to handle. I don't think I'm prepared for it. I'll be honest. That'll be 3 of them gone same season.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's gonna be very bad, to be honest. I mean, I just because we saw the way like the people in Vigo were actually so affectionate towards Luka Modric. I just felt like, okay, maybe the man is on a farewell tour, because there was a time he was gonna take a corner in the first half and they were applauding him, even when he came off. Like, you could even see Celta's bench were applauding Luka Modric when he was substituted. Like, not just the stadium, even this bench as well. Like, I mean, it just felt like people are like, okay, yeah, like we're in the presence of greatness and like, let's appreciate it for as long as we can. So it just felt to me like, the farewell tour, like, you're just going from stadium to stadium, getting your applause and what is and what is not. Yeah, so it was really kind of a, really good moment actually to see.
I
mean, though, about Luka Modric, though, we should hear about Modric from the best Modric fan on the team.
Oh yeah, for sure. That is pending.
Come on. That's not fair.
How is it not fair? It's only fair.
Just because I'm from Croatia, that doesn't mean that I'm the biggest Modric.
I mean, if Modric was from Nigeria, I will change my name to Modric one way or another. Like, I will make everyone know that, yeah, we were born in the same place as this guy.
I was, yes. We're from the same small city in Croatia. But I'm not biased. He is one of the, if not the best midfielder of all time. And if he feels like he can play, then we let him play. There's no question about it.
I think one of the interesting things will be if Ancelotti, Kroos, and Modric retire at the same time, because we know Ancelotti is going to retire after Real.
Wow.
That's also an option. Yeah.
We were making fun of United, calling them the retirement. He's becoming one. This is the real question, people,
Just imagine, winning the Champions League one more time, the streak for, and then I will retire as well, What else? What else is that?
I think the mentality and how our club is run, basically, excellence is never fully perfected, in my opinion. So they just keep striving and striving. This is some sort of an addiction, and a good addiction at that. That we keep striving for success year on, year. So I still believe if this if this sort of magic that Carlo has over this team continues, people will stay, as long as we are fighting on all fronts, giving our everything. And this mixture of youth and experience, if it clicks like it clicked last season and things follow away, we should be fine. We should be fine. But yeah, Vinny, again, clutch. He had a lot of bright moments in the first half. He was toying with Hugo Mayo. I feel bad for him. He is supposed to be a veteran. He has the record appearances for Celta Vigo in La Liga around 265 and like over 400 appearances, all comps. This guy is an actual veteran of the game. He couldn't handle him. Vinny was going one way one time, the other way the next time, cutting it back, like neat little tricks, flicks, back flicks, back heel. Like there was everything on show. apart from Hugo Mayo getting a sniff, basically. So Vinny was on it from minute one, and I feel like we have gotten so accustomed to what he does that we only mention when he's below par, or when he has an off day, and that is all credit to his incredible incremental rise in performances throughout the latter stages of last season. So big up Vinny. Just keep doing your thing, because the less people talk about someone, this is becoming some sort of a normalcy for him to be putting in 8s and 9s week in, week out. So that's a good thing. Yeah, Vinny scoring the third goal, and then fourth goal, Chouameni. Who wants to let me in on him? Because huge pressure. Casemiro leaving just like 24 hours ago, and the magnifying glasses are out. The onus is on you to take, the mantle and try to somewhat appear as an heir to, Casemiro's throne. How did he perform?
Yeah, I think he was really. I think he was fairly solid, to be honest, and I would say more than solid. Let's give credit where it's due, to be honest, because I felt, I think it was Javier who alluded to that actually at the beginning of the show as well. Like he was like, a bit for the first, half hour or so, he was a bit, not commanding. He was just here and there floating in the game. Like, Camavinga had to help and sweep in a lot. But I think for the second half, like he really, really manned up, and he was here and there putting in tackles, and he was, doing he was actually showing some of the attributes which, made Real Madrid spend almost 100 million euros on him, which was, he was winning tackles and stunting counterattacks. And actually, more importantly, as you rightly pointed out, like for the fourth goal, it was much more obvious, like winning the ball, standing strong, because, the tackle was almost like a 50-50, like if he hadn't been strong in that tackle, there's a very high chance that he doesn't make that tackle again. So he was strong, aggressive in that tackle, winning the ball, progressing the ball, and making the very right decision there, to give Vini the ball, just not, at the very right time. And yeah, the rest is just history. And it was a good goal from.
Head up the first goal. His header was the reason why Alaba could let the shot off.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, that's also valid now. But because I just felt like, that fourth goal, the process that built up to it actually just, shows actually what we should expect from this kind of player. Like, this is what he would bring to us, like 80-70% of the time as the season goes on, hopefully.
Anybody else gotta chime in on Chouameni?
I think that with age and some more training and minutes, he will be one of the best. And like Farouk said, he is already showing attributes of being a great player and a class player. But at this moment in time, he just needs some more experience. And with Camavinga there, even though he's 19, he's there to cover for him. And I think that a pairing of Chouameni and Camavinga is even at this time with this squad that we have is the best pairing we should go.
Yeah, in my opinion, it'll actually take a while before they perform at their optimum. Today was just
of course,
Today was just a glimpse of what they can do. But in my opinion, people seem to always emphasize the fact that Chouameni will find it hard to replace the defensive side of the game of what Casemiro brought to the table, right? But in my opinion, Chouameni already has the positional awareness and kind of the physique that could help him kind of achieve somewhat close to what Casemiro brought to the team in a defensive aspect. But in my opinion, people would as the season progresses, people would kind of start to notice that the one thing that Tchouaméni will find hard to replace what Casemiro brought is his goal scoring, because Casemiro used to be so decisive from set pieces, even from open play. Man can dribble. I used to laugh sometimes, especially during his early days, how a tank can dribble past people and play neat 1-2s. But Casemiro used to surprise people with how agile and nifty he was with his feet. This is my question to you, Karim. Do you see Tchouaméni as a goal scorer, especially from midfield?
Remains to be seen. I think Casemiro chose his goals very wisely. I mean, if only every player could choose the right moment, but it feels like every time Casemiro scored a goal, it was amazing timing. You think about the Napoli volley, you think about Juventus with the deflection. I think it was off Khedira, right?
Yeah.
He chose his moments beautifully, Casemiro. With Tchouaméni, it remains to be seen. He is a very technical player. He's still young. I'm sure he can develop his skills when it comes to goal scoring. I think as fans, as people who love Casemiro and who want to love Tchouaméni as he comes into the team, I think he'll have his own personality. He'll stamp his own authority. He'll have his relationships with the players. Hopefully he'll be here for 7, 8, 9 years if we're successful. So, I don't think it's a like-for-like comparison. I actually can't think of another defensive midfielder like Casemiro that's playing in modern football. He really is one of a kind. So, I think as time progresses, Tchouaméni will impose his personality and what he wants to do with the ball, off the ball, and it will be exciting to see it develop. But whether he will or he won't, that's why we watch.
Yeah. Fair points. Tchouaméni, I've seen him being pretty good at corners, or like at heading, to be specific. So I believe he can improve on that aspect for sure. Before we go on, Farouk, are you checking the comments, or we don't have any comments because it's too late?
No, man. Today we don't have anyone on. Yeah.
Well, Sonny, if I may, I think that what Karim said is a thing that is more important. Real Madrid doesn't try to have a Casemiro copycat. Barcelona, if you have to, the next Xavi, the next Iniesta, the next Busquets, and Real Madrid is like, no, we need to change a position. Casemiro, a legend, right? But Tchouaméni is never gonna be Casemiro. But they play in the same position, but it's not the same player. We don't need the same player, and that's why we keep pushing and pushing. And maybe he's not ever gonna score as many goals as Casemiro, but it doesn't matter because, as you said, he's a more physical presence, and maybe he's better with the ball. And for the goals, we can maybe have an Eduardo and Pepe. Pepe scores insane amount of goals, maybe we don't need that. But the thing is, we as a team don't keep dreaming and crying about the players that left. We try to improve with what we have. So Eduardo Tchouaméni is the starting in France. He's not a Castilla player. He's a starting position with the French national team, the World Cup winner. So who else would feel the Casemiro got better than him? No one. And Florentino and the directed did his work before even Casemiro was tempted by Manchester United. I think it's an unbelievable president that we have, an unbelievable board, because they almost predict the future. I think it's incredible.
Especially mentioned the Juni Calafat, his work also goes over most of our heads. The work he puts in to secure upcoming talents. But that's a very valid point. Barcelona always seems to have this this urge to kind of, like impose their past figures on future players. And we have always shied away from it. We have tried to aggressively promote the individuality a new player brings as a piece to the current team and system. So yeah, very, very good point, Javier. Many, I'm sure, can, contribute to the team in ways maybe we thought Casemiro didn't. So it kind of balances it out. But Valverde scoring, in my opinion, he didn't have the best of halves in the first half. He was losing possession multiple times. He kind of looked a bit jet lagged. I don't know what to call it. Because he was running into positions usually taken up by Chouameni, or running into positions usually taken up by Camavinga. It was a bit messy, and he looked to be stifled on the right hand side. And I can imagine Javi Galan and Oscar Rodriguez tried to give him a hard time, but like I mentioned earlier, the team grew, and he also was on it in the second half. Is his goal scoring underrated, Farouk?
I think I wouldn't say it is underrated, because he's never been that prolific, but he's been in good positions. That's what I'll say. I think his goal scoring is one thing that he actually has to improve.
The amount of crossbars he hit.
Exactly right. Exactly, and even away from that, he's really been in good positions, to be honest. I would say, just the end product, he needs to stop sticking them at the back of the post. But the point now becomes that the guy is a midfielder eventually, so you're not expecting that prolificness from him, if that's a word, I don't know. So that's the thing. When you're playing a hybrid midfielder winger situation, so this can be one of the things that can be a drawback. But hopefully he But to be honest, actually, one thing I always love about Fede Valverde is just you cannot fault him for lack of effort. Obviously, as you said, the first half wasn't the most, promising of it. But even then, you could see he was just, going up and down, running left and right, and just, being wherever he can be whenever he needs to be there. So yeah, that's the thing, man. You can never fault the man for the lack of effort. But about the goal scoring, I think that's the one thing for me, at least personally, I would say he could improve on point.
His numbers needs to improve. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
That shot was very satisfying. Drilled low, out of the reach of the keeper's hand. It was pretty good. The substitutes, okay. Ceballos, I don't think we need to talk much about Lucas Vázquez, but Rudiger, the guy who people were crying out, ever since he signed, that he should be featuring more prominently in the team. He comes in and immediately slots in at right back. So is this going to be a recurring theme that, he'll be swapping in and out for the wing backs? I was kind of a doubter, especially in the Clásico, even though he kind of dealt with Rafinha very well. I never saw myself seeing Rudiger play as a wing back. I know he has been exceptional in the back three, with his driving runs into deep areas. I want to ask you, Doris, is Rudiger, someone that can do a job on either flank when called upon? Doris, is she here?
It looks like her screen is frozen.
Yeah, it seems like Doris' screen is frozen, to be honest. Yeah.
You could take up the question for me, Kareem.
So I thought I saw. Oh, Doris, are you back? Do you want to answer the question? I don't know if you heard it.
You could go for it. I'll ask her. Yeah.
I didn't hear.
So we were just talking about Rudiger playing as a right back, and I could have sworn I saw Vázquez slide into the right after Vázquez came on, and then Rudiger take the center. I'm not sure. I don't think it's what he's there for, but we did see him make that marauding run in the lead up to the penalty, which I'm sure we'll talk about, the last penalty. And I thought to myself, I was watching Bruno Fernandes. I thought, fantastic, look at him go. I don't think he's going to be playing there the majority of the time. I think Ancelotti sort of just wants to, get his legs out there, get him to play a few games, get him into the team. Ancelotti looks like he's more ready than ever to be rotating. I think he's very happy with a squad of 23, 24 players. Could he do a job on the right? Could he do a job on the left? I'm sure, he's a very good footballer, but I don't think that's the majority of where we'll be seeing him. I'd be a little surprised if at the end of the season we found he made 35 appearances on the right side. I think that would be strange.
Doris, do you have anything to?
Yeah, I mentioned before that he slotted in on the right side, and probably that won't happen a lot this season. And I hope that we are not in a position that we have to replace Carvajal this season, because I think he's doing a good job and one of our better players in the Champions League last season. He had a few blunders and he had a few mistakes, but overall, especially in the final, he was one of our, if not the best player. So hopefully Rudiger won't have to be there, but in terms of his position in the lineup this season, I think he should just switch out with Militao, probably.
Fair point. Yeah, Rudiger was okay, and that marauding run itself just earns plaudits, for such a short cameo. But moving on to the pen that he won, brilliant, backheel by Benzema, and he gets fouled down, and the ref gives a pen, and Benzema decides to be generous, and give it to Hazard. I'm gonna stick with you, Doris. Was it a surprise?
Well, it wasn't. I'm just sad for him. I wish that didn't happen, but Benzema missed the rebound also, so I think that kind of eased up the mood after it, that it wasn't just Eden that missed. But I think he's disappointed with himself mostly.
Everybody, let me tell you, ranging from Thanos to Zeus to all the gods you can name, is working in tandem to get this guy to perform, right? But nothing does, in favor of him. Farouk, walk me through this. This is deja vu again, isn't it?
Man, I swear to God, when I saw Hazard with the ball, I knew he was gonna miss it. I swear to God, I just knew that.
Me too.
That's the thing, because I just felt it's that situation of, the man can just catch a break. That's the thing, to be honest. He just can catch a break. And, I feel so sad for him, but man, it is what it is these days. As Doris rightly pointed out, it's just there is nothing, man. It's just, what can he do? That's the thing, he goes there, takes the PK, he doesn't score that. It's the first touches, It's a very generous move by Karim Benzema. Actually, he shows how highly rated, how respected Hazard is among his peers, in the locker room, and what is and what is not. That they gave him the penalty. So that's just, that shows how high the team spirit is in the camp with the players. But the man can't just catch a break, to be honest. So, just stay away from distance, man. That's just it, because that's just going to be the headline now. And everyone performed, Tchouaméni was good, Fede was scoring, Modric was applauded by the... Yeah, exactly. So
he gave it a good shot. Asensio has a good shot in him.
Yeah, it was a good all-round performance, and Hazard just comes and does Hazard.
Hazard had one bright moment, I think. Just one.
But man, he was on the edge of his. I think you were talking about the turn which he won a foul from, right?
Yeah.
That's even you were expected to do that tonight, man. It's not in that. So.
I could do better, my friend. But this is a damning stat that is gonna haunt Hazard tonight in his sleep. 21 games since he last scored a goal in La Liga. Man, this is concerning. If he would have scored too, I don't think people would have eased up on him. They would be thinking this is something that Benzema let up. An easy Benzema goal he gave up for Hazard's sake, and he just scored, but he couldn't put that away. More pressure. Javier, do you think there'll be a change in Hazard's fortunes soon?
Man, we can only hope. You know, for me, the combination of two things. You know, first of all, Karim is our first captain. You know, and he understands the what that means.
Back in the day, right?
Yeah, he knows that he needs to uplift Eden spirit, and for Eden, I mean, we know he's a top class and he's a really good player, but man, if you have the penalty, just kick as hard as you can. You know,
Yeah.
maybe you can send him to the
To the stand, yes.
yeah, but break the ball, you know, like put that anger to the ball.
Yeah.
Do something, you know. I wouldn't mind if we miss
That's also the main thing that worries me, you know, in whatever Hazard does. I think it has something to do with players that has come back from major injuries. I might be wrong. I don't work in the medical field, but that's just my feeling. They lack conviction in whatever they do. You know, like when you lack conviction, you can't put in that power into your shot. You know, like so. You could have done so much better, man. It is just sad. But yeah, moving back to the positives. Farooq, do you remember how we were mentioning that Benzema looked iffy against Almeria in the first match day? You saw immediately the moment he scored, he kind of got his mojo back. Like I've always felt that Benzema is very much a confidence player. Do you think there is some truth to that, Farooq?
I wouldn't say so. I would say it's like 50-50 to be honest, because like, you know, I've seen games where Benzema hasn't scored, but also he's had very good, you know, I mean, I can actually even pinpoint there was a Champions League game we won 4 or 5-0 last year. I think it's against Sheriff. I can't recall. I think he scored the last goal of the game. It's against Shakhtar. I can't remember which team it was, but I know it was a high scoring game and he was the last scorer of the game. Like, I mean, he created chances upon chances and he also missed some chances. So I think because of the way Karim plays, I think you wouldn't necessarily say like, you know, he feeds on confidence of scoring. Obviously, every striker feeds on the confidence of scoring goals. But I mean, you know, that's, I mean, I'm just trying to point to the Almeria game exactly. I wouldn't say like, you know, it's about the confidence of not scoring goal. I think maybe it's just about first game back, first game of the season, first competitive game. So like, maybe there's just, you know, that kind of jet lag and what is and what is not there. But obviously, as you said, like rightly, you can take anything away from that. Like once he scored today, like he was more lively, more involved, and yeah, almost every good team came through him or he was involved in them as well. So yeah, I think there might be a bit of truth to that, but I wouldn't say that's the whole confidence thing.
Yeah, Celta is his favorite opponent. You know, like in 14 matches, this was his 15th match. So in 15 matches, he has had like 13 goals. So Celta is one of his favorite opponents. So wasn't a surprise. Benzema was on the score sheet. Any other honorable mentions you have from players that I would have missed?
Did anyone see Militao bounce off of his back again?
Yeah, for the second game running, right? Yeah.
That's the first time he's done that.
Yeah, this is like
Second time.
he has some sort of inflatable in his back shoulder. I mean, it's amazing. I've never seen someone do it so consistent.
He laughed after
Becoming a trademark.
He knew what he was doing there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that's like great athleticism, and that's certainly what this team has a potential to become, like a really physical, strong, athletic team. And in today's game, that is certainly something that you need your team to be. So Militao, that is one of his biggest strengths, is being so athletic like he is.
Absolutely, it's almost like he has springs, you know, work inside him. So yeah, Militao, he did that against Frankfurt, I think, the other time, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Courtois, we rarely speak about him, you know. I think he had a fairly easy night.
Do you know what? It's one of those things, Courtois. A good goalkeeper is kind of like a good waiter. If they do a good job, you don't notice. It's not that he had to do a lot of shot saving today, but I actually think, particularly in the first half, Celta were pressing quite high, and you saw that there was pressure on him and on our back line to be in the right position to receive the ball quickly. He was very good with his feet today, and I know it's something that he's taken that point of criticism before when people have said to him, or he's read in the newspapers and whatever, that he can't really play with his feet. It's absolutely untrue. He's very technically adept as a goalkeeper. So I think props to him. Yes, he didn't have that many shots to save, but when he did have to play, he played an active part, especially in building up and maintaining, keeping the ball possession. So kudos to Thibaut.
Fair point. Thibaut, puts in a shift quietly. Like, he goes about his job more often than not, and like nobody barely remembers him doing anything of not today. I'm pretty sure. I think that's pretty much it. Next up, we have a very difficult trip away again at Espanyol, where we lost, one of the 3 or 4 games we lost last season. So it is going to be tricky. So before we wrap up, any last thoughts, boys?
I was just gonna give a shout out to Amir. Like Amir has always been on our chat from the very first day, so he's also here again today. So thank you, Amir, for engaging us. Like he just actually wrote about Luka Bang when we discussed about Modric. So yeah, shout out to him.
That's pretty much it. That's it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Real Madrid committee. Like always, check out their Instagram page, brilliant page. They have been with us all throughout this journey. Also, big up to Kareem and Javier, who are the new members of our panel. I hope they enjoyed their, introduction, their first day, basically. Javier, I need your mic fixed up. That's the only thing. Your mic kind of keeps going in and out, but it got better as the show went on. A few people were complaining on a Reddit post that it is kind of too late and they wouldn't be able to make the live call-in. To all those people, I have just one thing to say, that this is going to be a regular recurring thing, that we'll be trying to do this more often than not, because it's fairly easy. So watch out for it, and especially post matches, we got to do it immediately after the game. Doing it the next day kind of takes the heat off of it. So we could probably make pre-matches a bit more earlier for people, especially in India and Asia, to actually take part. So keep an eye out for it. Check out especially our Insta page. We'll be putting out a countdown with a link that you can hit the notification bell on. We'll be putting out that story at least like 5 hours before we go live. So just keep an eye out, people, and love for the love. We are kind of, slowly approaching our first anniversary, of the podcast. So it's been a wild ride, and can't thank you people enough. Big up to the people, dedicated listeners, especially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. They have been here from day one. So yeah, love for the love, people. Until then, Hala Madrid.
I love
Madrid.